What is going on, YouTube? Today I am super excited to be sharing with you the 5 books that have most impacted my life up until this point. Now, these are 5 books that have changed my perspective in some meaningful way in the way that I view finance, life's mission, happiness, the way to interact with people, and how to actually structure and approach your life in a way that you can get the most out of it. The 5th book on my list is a book that I honestly wish I had read earlier in life. This book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. The Alchemist is a beautiful story written about a boy named Santiago. He's a shepherd and he decides that maybe there's more to life than what he's currently experiencing. So Santiago decides to go on an endeavor to fulfill his personal legend. Along the way, he meets a plethora of different characters, and I think what's most impactful about this book is that I've started to recognize these characters in my own life. You'll meet a merchant who, despite having lofty goals, will intentionally self-sabotage himself or hold him back from actually achieving what he sets out in life. He doesn't want to actually realize his goals. He wants to always have something off in the horizon, but he'll never actually get there because he's seceded in his own mind that he's never going to do it. There's one part in this book that's absolutely beautiful, and it's one of the things that sticks out most to me, and that is Santiago has in his possession 2 different stones, Ummim and Thummim. Now these stones help him to decide in which direction to go whenever he reaches a crossroad. He received these stones from a king, and when the king actually gave him these stones, he told him that no matter what, don't ask these stones a question that you can answer yourself. Now later in the book, Santiago, he starts to encounter resistance on his personal legend. He decides to ask the stones whether or not he will actually realize his personal legend or if it's not meant to be. And when he goes in to reach for the stones fall through his pocket. And this kind of symbolizes that this is a question that he can answer himself. He gets to decide whether or not he's going to actually pursue and achieve his personal legend, and the stones aren't going to actually determine that. He determines that. The 4th book that I want to go over is The Happiness Equation. So amongst other things, one of my interests is happiness. Where does happiness come from? How do we achieve it? Is it something that we should put above all else? Where does it rank in the terms of meaning for your life? The happiness equation helps me better understand where success and happiness actually comes from. Now, in the book, the author describes that most people view success and happiness in a matter of first you find success and then you find happiness. But he actually takes that and he flips it on its head. He says that when you're happy, when you feel fulfilled and like you're enjoying what you do every day, you're more willing to do the things that will actually make you successful. Happiness comes first and then success comes. The other part of this book that was new to me was he brings up a term called ikigai. Now, ikigai is a Japanese term which basically means your reason to live or why you actually get out of bed in the morning. They touch briefly on the fact that retirement is actually a source of great dissatisfaction, and what we find is that death rates go through the roof once people retire. If you have an ikigai, if you have a reason to get out of bed, you are that much more likely to find a reason to live and to find some spice in your life. When you retire, or if you retire, it's very important that you have something in mind, a purpose, whether that be your family, whether that be a charity or your church. This will actually motivate you and give you more fulfillment in your life. But these 2 concepts, that happiness comes before success and having an ikigai will actually help drive that success, I think were brilliant ideas. The 3rd book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now this title is brutally clickbait and honestly makes me cringe, but the tenets that Dale Carnegie touches on in this book, while being incredibly simple, are extremely powerful. Now, the different tenets that he talks about are smile. He talks about the importance of never reprimanding anyone. Another tenet that he talks about is the importance of using people's names. Using somebody's names, 1, signals respect, and 2 is just everybody's favorite word is their own name. So you can help engage and show respect to people through using their names. Another tenet that he talks about is speak about what other people are interested in. Speaking about what other people are interested in is awesome for a couple reasons. 1, people are excited to talk about what they're actually interested in. And 2, you get to learn something from everybody that you speak with. Even if you don't actually think that you have a curiosity in any given subject, speaking with somebody who's passionate about it and hearing what they find interesting about that can help inspire you to be more curious and be more enthusiastic about what you're learning. This is probably the biggest takeaway that I got from this book. The number 2 book that I want to talk about is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now, I think why Rich Dad Poor Dad was so impactful for me is because it was one of the first finance books that I ever read. The principles in finance books are pretty much the exact same. It's always going to be talking about how you should spend less than what you earn and that you should be investing actively. Something that I really enjoyed about this book was the way that the author defines an asset versus a liability. Now, I'm an accounting major, so I thought that I had a pretty good idea of what an asset and a liability was. And Robert kind of takes that and he puts it into more actionable terms for the everyday person. He defines an asset as something that will eventually bring money into your life and a liability as something that takes money out of your life. So even though your house technically on your balance sheet is going to be something worth a ton of value, that's an asset to you, unless you're actually going to rent out a room in your house, it's never going to bring money in for you. You're constantly going to be paying money for your house. So owning a house doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be earning more in the long run. You'll be building up value, sure, but you're not going to actually realize that value until you actually sell the house. So unless that is your intention, unless you're going to flip it, unless you're going to rent, you shouldn't view your house as being an asset. The number 1 book that has been most impactful in my life up until this point is Atomic Habits. Now, Atomic Habits is a book but written by James Clear that is beyond brilliant. I love this book. One of the quotes that James Clear uses is that your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. I think this is absolutely brilliant. If you can find a way on a weekly basis to save money or to read, you can, over your lifetime, grow extremely wealthy and grow extremely learned. If you can master habits, you can build and structure your life in any way that you see fit. One extra thing that I'll say about this book is that I think what James Clear does exceptionally well in this book, and why it is my number 1 most impactful book, is that he does such a phenomenal job of presenting and amalgamating every concept that I've read in other habit change books, and he just presents it in such a clean and digestible way. Anyways, guys, I hope that these books will impact your life in the same way that have impacted mine. If you're looking for more book suggestions or if you have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.